The city never truly slept. Neon reflected off sleek streets, red and blue bleeding into puddles, as if warning anyone daring enough to chase its secrets. Lila strode down the sidewalk like she owned it, heels clicking in rhythm with the bass of a nightclub somewhere nearby. Her dress shimmered like liquid gold, and her eyes, cold, sharp, unyielding, scanned every shadow. Behind her, Maya laughed, a reckless, intoxicating sound that drew attention wherever it went. "Do you feel that, Lila?" "The city's heartbeat," she asked, tossing her hair and striding without care. Sienna followed, deliberate, precise. Every movement was calculated.
In unity we bind
Her
our
eyes
fates.
flicked over the crowd,
By this circle
reading
our oath is
intentions like a
sealed.
book. "We should stay focused," she said, voice low, smooth, the kind that masked ambition. "Tonight's not for mistakes." At the club's entrance, Tara froze. She was new to this world, her heels sinking slightly into the wet pavement, heart hammering. She'd heard of them, the Velvet Circle, whispered about in rumors, for women who moved like queens through the city's underworld, taking money, influence, and power as if it were air. Now, here she was, standing on the edge of their orbit, and part of her wondered if she could survive it. Lila looked back at her, a faint smile curling her lips. "You made it," she said. "No turning back now." The doors swung open, and the women stepped into a world drenched in strobe lights, smoke, and music so loud it throbbed in their bones. Eyes turned, whispers followed. They were visible yet untouchable. The circle's power was silent but palpable. Hours later, in a private penthouse that overlooked the glittering city, the women gathered for the ritual that would bind them together. Candles flickered on a marble floor, casting long, dancing shadows. The city lights below seemed distant, insignificant. Lila knelt in the center, her voice calm, hypnotic. "We are bound tonight," she intoned, "by ambition, by desire, by the darkness we embrace." Hands touched in a chain, Lila, Maya, Sienna, Tara, and whispered promises wove through the room, loyalty, secrecy, power at any cost. The air was thick with perfume, incense, and something darker, something that made Tara's stomach twist in equal parts fear and excitement. "This is forever," Sienna murmured, her voice barely audible. "No one can touch what we create tonight." Maya grinned, reckless and wild. "Or if they try, they'll regret it." Tara swallowed hard. She felt it in her bones. This ritual was more than symbolic. It was dangerous, ancient, binding. But the thrill was irresistible. She let her hand stay in the circle. She let herself believe she was ready. By dawn, their first conquest was complete, an illegal nightclub deal secured, fortunes exchanged in whispers and nods, the kind of power that drew eyes, unseen, hungry, and judging. The women laughed, champagne dripping over designer heels, as they toasted their triumph. But outside the penthouse, in the shadows of the city, someone watched. Silent. Unblinking. Eyes that knew more than they should, waiting for the first crack, the first mistake. Tara's excitement began to shift to unease. "Do you think we are too visible?" she asked quietly. Lila's eyes glinted. "We are never invisible, Tara. That's not the point. Power isn't about hiding. It's about daring. And we dare." Maya leaned back, a laugh spilling from her lips, reckless and wild. "Then let them watch. Let them envy. Let them fear. That's the only way to play." Sienna's gaze lingered on the city below. "And when they try to touch us, they'll find out the cost." The sun rose, painting the skyline in gold and crimson. The city didn't notice them, but the shadows remembered. And somewhere, in the dark, a plan was already forming, a challenge they hadn't seen coming. Tara shivered. Fear and thrill tangled inside her, and she realized that this dangerous, intoxicating world was not just about luxury or power. It was about survival. And survival had a price, the city had a rhythm, and tonight, it beat for them. The velvet circle moved through the streets like queens claiming territory, heels echoing on cobblestones, their laughter a sharp contrast to the dark whispers that trailed behind them. Tara had begun to notice things she hadn't before, the way Sienna's eyes lingered on contracts with more calculation than conversation, or how Maya's flirtations weren't just reckless, they were carefully chosen distractions. Even Lila, calm and perfect as always, had a glint in her eyes that hinted at plans she hadn't shared. It was midnight at a sprawling penthouse overlooking the river. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings like frozen stars, reflecting in the polished marble floors. A private party was underway, exclusive, extravagant, and dangerous. Maya drifted through the crowd, leaning into powerful men, laughing, her gaze wild. Each smile, each tilt of her head, was a calculated move. She knew who to charm, who to disarm. Sienna, meanwhile, stood apart, a glass of deep red wine in her hand, speaking in hushed tones to a businessman with eyes too eager, ears too curious. Every word she whispered carried weight, every glance measured consequence. Tara clung to the edges, watching, absorbing, her pulse quickening. "Is it always like this?" she asked quietly. Lila's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Always. And one slip, and it all comes crashing down." The party dissolved into the early morning. Lights dimmed, music faded, and yet something lingered in the air, a tension that Tara couldn't shake. By sunrise, an ally of the circle had vanished. No note, no call, nothing but a whisper through the city streets, "You don't know what you've unleashed." Lila's eyes narrowed as she studied the skyline. "The city doesn't forgive carelessness," she muttered. Maya laughed lightly, brushing it off. "Then we'll make them regret watching us." But Tara wasn't laughing. Something deep inside her twisted uneasily. The shadows had noticed them, and maybe, she realized, the shadows were hungry. Later that night, on a private yacht anchored in the harbor, Maya made her first dangerous misstep. A deal, too ambitious, too risky, collapsed spectacularly. Money was lost, enemies were stirred, and for the first time, the circle's perfect control faltered. Lila's voice cut through the roar of the waves. "You've put us all in danger." Maya shrugged, tossing her hair like fire. "And what?" "I live for danger." Sienna's eyes glinted sharply. "We don't just live in it, Maya. We survive it. And survival is precise." Tara watched them all, her heart pounding. This wasn't just luxury or power, this was a game of shadows, and losing meant more than a bank account emptied. Tara returned to her apartment, the city lights flickering below her balcony. She couldn't shake a nagging thought. She researched the ritual they had performed, digging into whispered histories, secret texts, and forbidden knowledge. The truth hit her like ice: the ritual wasn't just symbolic. It bound them in more than loyalty, it bound them in danger, in consequence, in something that could not be undone. Her phone buzzed. A message from Sienna: "Meet me at the usual place. Urgent." When Tara arrived, she found Sienna collapsed, barely conscious, a note pressed to her chest: "The shadows are hungry." Tara's breath caught. Fear and adrenaline tangled. The circle wasn't untouchable. And now, someone among them, or outside them, had started a game they hadn't anticipated. That night, the circle convened in secrecy. The penthouse was dark except for candlelight flickering across sharp features and tense expressions. Lila's eyes swept across them. "The city is testing us," she said softly. And tonight, we've failed to see who the real enemy is. Maya's laughter was gone. Who would dare? Sienna cut her off, voice cold and precise. It doesn't matter who dared. What matters is who survives. Tara's hands shook slightly, but she raised her head, determination hardening in her chest. She had entered this world seeking thrill and power, but now she understood. This world demanded cunning, loyalty, and sacrifice, and none of them were untouchable. The circle sat in silence, shadows of doubt creeping like poison through the penthouse. And outside, in the city that never slept, eyes watched, plans unfolded, and the first true threat was already moving. By the third week, the city no longer felt like a playground. It felt like a cage. Lila noticed it first, the way conversations stopped when they entered the room, how smiles came a second too late, how doors closed a little faster behind them. Power had made them visible. Fear had made them vulnerable. The velvet circle was still intact on the surface. But underneath, something rotten was spreading. The penthouse was unusually quiet. No music. No champagne. Just the hum of the city outside and the soft glow of city lights cutting through the glass walls. Maya paced the room, barefoot, restless. "You're all acting like we're already dead," she snapped. "We've handled worse." Sienna sat on the couch, legs crossed, calm on the outside, razor sharp on the inside. "No," she said. "We've handled messes. This is a pattern." Lila stood by the window, arms folded, watching traffic crawl below. "Someone is feeding information," she said quietly. "That's the only explanation." Tara's stomach tightened. "Are you saying one of us?" Lila turned slowly. "I'm saying trust is now a luxury we can't afford." Silence fell like a verdict. Later that night, Maya slipped out alone. She told herself she needed air. Freedom. Control. The truth was messy. She met him in a dimly lit lounge, an old contact, dangerous, charming, connected to the very enemies circling the circle. She smiled like always, but her hands shook around her glass. "You're moving too fast," he said, eyes narrowing. "The city doesn't like queens who don't bow." Maya leaned in. "Then maybe the city needs new rulers." What she didn't know was that someone was watching from across the room. And what she didn't admit, even to herself, was that she'd already said too much. The next morning, Tara woke to a message that made her blood run cold. A photo. It showed the four of them, taken from above, entering the penthouse days earlier. Below it, one sentence. "Choose who falls, or all of you will." Tara rushed to Lila. "This isn't a threat," Tara said, voice shaking. "It's a countdown." Lila's face hardened, something ancient and ruthless flickering behind her eyes. "Then we stopped waiting." The first real loss came without warning. An associate, someone who had helped them move money quietly, was found dead in an abandoned parking structure. No robbery. No struggle. Just a message carved into concrete nearby. Power has weaknesses. The city erupted in whispers. Sienna stared at the news feed, jaw tight. "This is escalation." Maya tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. "They're bluffing." "No," Tara whispered. "They're proving they can touch us." For the first time, fear sat openly among them. That night, the penthouse became a courtroom. Lila stood at the center. "Everyone talks. Now." Maya exploded first. "So what? You think I sold us out?" Sienna's eyes cut to her. "You disappear. Deals collapse. Enemies move faster than they should. Explain." Maya slammed her glass down. "I did what I had to do." The room froze. Tara felt it the moment everything shifted. Lila's voice dropped, lethal. You acted alone. Maya met her stare, defiant but afraid. I was trying to protect us. Sienna stood slowly. No. You were protecting yourself. Accusations flew. Old grudges surfaced. Every smile from the past now felt like a lie. The circle fractured, not with violence, but with doubt. And doubt was deadlier. Later, alone on the balcony, Tara stared at the city. She finally understood. The ritual hadn't just bound them together. It had trapped them in a cycle, ambition feeding fear, fear feeding betrayal. And someone, maybe the city itself, was demanding a sacrifice. Behind her, Lila spoke softly. Power always asks for payment. Tara turned. And who decides who pays? Lila's eyes were unreadable. The one who survives. As night fell, each woman lay awake in a different corner of the city, watching doors, checking shadows, replaying conversations. The velvet circle still existed. But it was no longer united by loyalty. It was united by fear. And fear, once invited in, never leaves quietly. By now, the city knew their names. Not spoken out loud, never that careless, but whispered in elevators, behind tinted windows, in rooms where decisions were made and lives were traded. The velvet circle had crossed a line. And the city had stopped watching. It was moving, the club they once controlled pulsed with unfamiliar energy. Lila felt it immediately. The DJ wasn't theirs. The security faces had changed. Conversations died when she walked past. Power had shifted, quietly, deliberately. This place doesn't belong to us anymore, Tara whispered. Sienna's lips curved, sharp. No, she said. It belongs to whoever bleeds last. Across the room, Maya locked eyes with someone she recognized, and instantly regretted. A former lover. A rival's messenger. A mistake with a memory. The trap was already set. Sienna played her move that same night. She met her lover in a hotel room soaked in gold light and lies. He trusted her. He always had. That was the problem. You should leave the city, she told him softly, tracing his chest. Why? Because I don't know who's hunting anymore. He smiled. I'd protect you. Sienna kissed him like an apology. By morning, his accounts were frozen, his name leaked, his protection gone. Love wasn't betrayal, she told herself. It was strategy. Maya couldn't sleep. Every sound felt like footsteps. Every vibration felt like a warning. The city she once seduced now stared back, unamused. She returned to the lounge, the same one where she'd first spoken too much. This time, desperation led. I can fix this, she whispered to the man in the shadows. I'll give you Lila. Sienna. Whatever you want. The man leaned forward. We already have you. Maya realized too late, this wasn't negotiation. It was confession. That night, the candles relit themselves. Tara felt it before she saw it, the pressure in her chest, the familiar pull of the ritual. She rushed to the penthouse. The symbols were glowing faintly. The air was heavy. This wasn't supposed to happen, Tara said, panic rising. Lila's face was pale but composed. The ritual doesn't care what we planned. Sienna whispered, almost reverent. A scream echoed from Maya's phone. Then silence. Nobody. No proof. Just absence. And absence felt final. The city moved fast after that. Accounts vanished. Properties burned. Warrants appeared overnight. Allies fled. Enemies smiled. Lila fought like a strategist trapped in a burning palace, issuing orders, cutting losses, sacrificing pieces. But Sienna had already begun writing the board. "You're still playing defense," Sienna said quietly. "I'm playing survivor." Tara saw it then. Lila wanted control. Sienna wanted dominance. Maya had wanted escape. And Tara wanted out. The final fracture came during a private meeting meant to save them. Instead, it ended them. Sienna handed over information, just enough to ensure immunity. Not everything. Never everything. Lila realized it mid-conversation. "You sold us," she said calmly. Sienna met her gaze without flinching. "I outlived you." Security lights flooded the room. Tara ran. By dawn, the velvet circle no longer existed. One vanished. One exposed. One haunted. And one free, for now. Tara stood at a bus terminal on the edge of the city, hoodie pulled low, phone discarded in a trash bin. Behind her, sirens echoed. Ahead of her, silence. The ritual had taken its payment. But it wasn't finished. Not yet. The city never forgave. It only waited. Lila was no longer powerful. She was precise. From a safe house wrapped in concrete and silence, she watched screens flicker, news feeds, security cams, intercepted calls. Every betrayal replayed in her mind with surgical clarity. Sienna had sold the circle. Maya had broken it. Tara had escaped it. And the ritual. The ritual was awake. Lila touched the old symbol carved into the table. It was cold now. Empty. Starving. "Finish it," she whispered. The lights dimmed. Somewhere across the city, someone screamed. Sienna stood at the top of the city at last. A private penthouse. Immunity papers signed. Enemies silenced. Champagne poured by hands that trembled. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Every mirror reflected something wrong. Her shadow lagged behind her movements. The air smelled faintly of smoke and iron. Her phone vibrated. "Unknown. You outlived them. Now outlive yourself." The lights went out. Candles ignited on their own. Sienna backed away, heart pounding. "No," she whispered. I paid enough." The ritual answered not with words. With fire. By morning, the penthouse was a blackened shell. Nobody found. Just symbols burned into marble. Power had crowned her. Then devoured her. Maya wasn't dead. She was worse. She woke in places she didn't recognize, with memories that weren't hers bleeding into her thoughts. Every screen showed her face for half a second before glitching. Every shadow followed too closely. She tried to scream once. Nothing came out. The man from the lounge watched from across the street, smiling sadly. "She belongs to it now," he murmured. Maya became a warning people felt but never saw. A ghost bound to the ritual she fed. Tara changed her name twice. She worked quiet jobs. Slept lightly. Trusted no one. For a while, it worked. Then the dreams started. Candles. Marble. Blood that wasn't hers. One night, she found the symbol carved into her bathroom mirror, fresh, wet, impossible. Her phone buzzed. A message from a number that didn't exist. "Unknown. You walked away. That doesn't mean you're free." Tara sank to the floor, shaking. She understood now. The ritual didn't punish ambition. It punished abandonment. Lila returned to the penthouse ruins alone. No guards. No allies. Just her and the circle she once controlled. I built you, she said aloud. I fed you. I rode through you. The candles flared violently. For the first time, Lila smiled without arrogance. Take me, she said. But end it. The ritual hesitated. Then answered. When the police arrived hours later, they found the symbols shattered. The marble cracked. The candles melted into nothing. And Lila. Gone. No fire. No blood. No trace. Just silence where hunger once lived. Months later, the city moved on. New clubs. New queens. New rituals whispered under breath. At a roadside cafe far from the skyline, Tara sat alone, sunlight warming her face. For the first time in years, she felt light. Her phone stayed silent. No shadows followed. The ritual was gone. But as she stood to leave, she noticed something carved faintly into the wooden table. A symbol. Old. Faded. Waiting, Tara stared at it for a long moment. Then she walked away. Because darkness never dies. It just waits for someone new to invite it in.